You didn't run a marathon. You didn't rake leaves or chase grandkids. Yet somehow, by noon, your limbs feel like sandbags. Your eyes sting. Your mind fogs up like a mirror after a hot shower. Why? It's not just aging. It's not laziness. It might be something quieter, more invisible, something lurking in plain sight. It's the silent toll of visual noise. What's visual noise? It's that table stacked with unopened mail you meant to sort last week. The chair in the corner with sweaters draped like forgotten promises. The spice rack where 6 jars are duplicates. It's not mess. It's mental friction, those tiny reminders of things unfinished, decisions delayed, energy unspent. And here's the strange truth. This background clutter, this low-grade chaos, can quietly drain more energy than sweeping the whole porch. But what if you didn't have to clean everything? What if you could reset your entire day without lifting more than a spoon? One woman did just that. She didn't purge her closet. She didn't deep clean her home. She discovered one subtle shift that flipped her energy from foggy to focused, without ever breaking a sweat. Ever felt tired just looking around your kitchen? Ever sensed your space was stealing your spark? Tell us in the comments. You're not alone, and in just a moment, we'll show you the one gentle move that changed everything. Fiona Clove is 76 years old, a retired school librarian from a misty town in Vermont. She's the kind of woman who could once recall the Dewey Decimal number for any book off the top of her head. Her neighbors call her the whisperer of lost things, because she always knows where everything is. Or used to. These days, Fiona forgets why she walked into a room. The once sharp sparkle in her thoughts now flickers by mid-morning. She starts a crossword puzzle with her tea, but by the third clue, she's reaching for the throw blanket and resting her eyes. "I thought it was just age catching up," she said. That slowing down was something I had to accept, but it didn't sit right with her. Fiona was never one to accept anything without turning it over twice and checking the spine. The shift began on a fog-heavy Tuesday morning. She was rinsing out her teacup when she noticed the windowsill, a broken pot, a dusty ceramic cat, a seashell from a trip she barely remembered. Nothing loud or dirty, just crowded. And suddenly, the realization swept in like the steam from her kettle. "I don't need more sleep," she whispered, staring at that cluttered windowsill. "I need less noise in my nest." It wasn't the house that was tiring her. It was the constant, invisible pull of objects asking for her attention. Each item had a whisper. "Fix me, dust me, use me, decide about me." And while she never called herself a hoarder, Fiona had accumulated more than books over the years. She'd saved things that once held meaning but now held her hostage. Tiny obligations in every corner of her life. But instead of launching into a massive decluttering spree, she didn't have the energy for that. Fiona did something quietly revolutionary. She chose one thing: to restore a single anchor point in her day. Not a shelf or a closet. A feeling. She sat beside her reading chair and cleared the side table. Only one item was allowed to stay. A book she actually wanted to read. Everything else went into a basket. No guilt, no grand plan. Just space. And in that small act, Fiona discovered a surprising truth. Her energy didn't come back in bursts. It returned in breaths. With every corner she softened, every surface she simplified, a little more life trickled back in. Her home didn't look perfect, but it began to feel different. And for Fiona, that made all the difference. Shift 1. The Energy Anchor Scan. Fiona never considered herself messy. Her floors were swept, her dishes clean, her linens folded just the way her mother taught her. But still, something always felt unsettled. Not chaotic, just subtly off. Like a painting tilted 1 degree too far. She couldn't quite name it, but it lingered, especially in the mornings. She'd pour her coffee and feel an odd sense of tension even before the first sip. That's when she stumbled upon what she now calls her Energy Anchor Scan. It didn't come from a book or a podcast. It came from a moment of stillness, when she caught herself staring blankly across the room and realized her gaze always landed on the same thing. The old metal tray on her dining table. There it was, every morning. A half-used pad of sticky notes, expired coupons, a crusted tube of hand cream, and an unopened envelope she'd been ignoring for 3 weeks. None of it catastrophic. All of it loud. She thought. What if I didn't need to clean the whole room? What if I only needed to quiet this one noisy corner? That was the birth of the scan. The energy anchor skin isn't about decluttering every inch. It's not about productivity. It's not even about cleanliness. It's about finding the thing that quietly tugs at your mental sleeves the moment you walk into a room. It could be a pair of shoes you trip over every evening, a pile of outdated magazines on the end table, a decorative bowl that's somehow become a junk drawer in disguise. The magic lies in not making a list. Fiona's rule: stand in the doorway. Let your eyes drift naturally. Where do they land first? What single object or pile triggers a tiny sigh in your chest? She doesn't overthink it. She doesn't start a cleaning spree. She walks over and handles just that one thing. Sometimes she tosses it. Sometimes she moves it to where it belongs. Sometimes she decides, not today, but even that conscious decision gives her control. And something strange happens after that tiny act. Her shoulders drop. Her breath deepens. That murky mental fog lifts just enough for her to feel steady. The brilliance of this habit is that it honors how seniors think and feel. As we age, decision fatigue becomes real. It's not that we can't clean the whole room. It's that we shouldn't have to. The Energy Anchor Scan offers a small, doable path forward, a way to gently reset your environment without overwhelming yourself with rules or to-do lists. Because sometimes, restoring peace doesn't mean conquering the room. It means reclaiming the moment. Shift 2. The Soft Zone Strategy. Fiona discovered the power of her soft zone by accident, on a night when her mind refused to quiet. That day had been cluttered in every way. A long phone call with insurance, a neighbor dropping by unannounced, a missing receipt, and a cabinet door that squeaked every time she opened it. By bedtime, her body was still, but her thoughts kept bouncing like marbles in a box. She reached for her bedside lamp and knocked over a pile of unread magazines, her reading glasses, a hair clip, and a pencil. Everything tumbled with a sharp clatter. That was her breaking point. Not the paperwork, not the errands. It was the nightstand. The next morning, she made a vow. This one spot, this one small patch of my world, will always feel soft. And so began the soft zone strategy. A soft zone is a tiny 3 by 3 foot area in your home that remains protected, not from dust or fingerprints, but from decision overload. It's your visual exhale, your pocket of peace. No multitasking, no chaos, just presence. Fiona chose her nightstand because it was the first thing she saw each morning and the last thing she touched at night. She removed the piles, the pens, the clutter masquerading as essentials. What stayed? A single lamp with a warm amber bulb. One black and white photo of her late husband, Terrence, in his gardening hat. And the book she was currently reading, just one. No backups, no pressure. She dusted the surface with a soft cloth, laid down a fabric square her granddaughter made, and that was it. Done. Untouchable. It wasn't about aesthetics. It was about creating a non-negotiable zone of calm. A place where her brain didn't have to make choices, solve problems, or weigh priorities. A space that said, here, you can just be. Seniors, especially, carry invisible cognitive load. Deciding what to wear, remembering appointments, managing medication, tracking finances. Even the small choices accumulate, and they exhaust. The soft zone works as a kind of mental charging dock. When the rest of the house feels chaotic or when energy is low, just looking at that one peaceful corner reminds your nervous system safety still exists. Not everything needs your attention right now. Over time, Fiona realized something else. Her behavior changed. She became more intentional throughout the day. She moved slower. She paused before tossing items onto surfaces. It's as if that one small decision, the choice to protect a tiny territory, helped her respect the rest of her space, too. And no, your soft zone doesn't have to be a nightstand. It could be the left side of your kitchen counter, a favorite chair by the window, a tray on your bathroom sink. It's not about location, it's about consistency. So, ask yourself this. If you could guard one space from all the noise of life, where would your soft zone be? Let us know in the comments. Your peaceful place might just inspire someone else to find theirs. Shift 3. The Emotional Dusting Ritual. Fiona's house was tidy enough by most standards. Books lined up on shelves, dishes put away, the mail sorted by the end of the week. But every now and then, she felt a strange heaviness drift through her space, like a draft from a window that wasn't open. She couldn't explain it at first. Nothing was technically wrong, but something felt off. It was during one of those unshakable days that she started what she now calls her emotional dusting ritual. It began not with a plan, but a feeling. Fiona had just made a cup of chamomile tea and sat down at her dining table. Her eyes landed on a chipped mug her neighbor had given her years ago. The mug was fine, still usable, not unsightly. But suddenly, her tea didn't taste as warm. Her chest tightened. She realized the neighbor who'd gifted it had passed away last spring, and every time she touched the mug, she felt a quiet sorrow she hadn't named. It didn't spark joy, it sparked ache. That moment became the first of many. Fiona stood up, slowly walked through her living room, and picked up a few more objects at random. A decorative plate, an old card, a scarf tucked behind the coat rack. With each one, she asked herself a soft but powerful question. Does this carry peace or pressure? Not is this useful? Not do I love it? But does this make my chest rise or tighten? Since then, every Sunday morning, Fiona walks her home with that same quiet curiosity. No organizing bins, no rearranging closets, just 5 objects, chosen without overthinking. She doesn't force anything. Sometimes, she places an item in a small pause box to decide later. Sometimes she lets something go immediately. And often, she simply breathes deeper, realizing the item still offers warmth. What makes this ritual so powerful is that it's not about productivity. It's about emotional hygiene. Just like washing your hands or brushing your teeth, emotional dusting is a regular check-in with the heart. A way to wipe off the residue of unspoken sadness, lingering guilt, or obligations you've outgrown. Many seniors accumulate not just things, but emotional weight attached to those things. A trinket from someone who's no longer around. A souvenir from a trip that now reminds them more of loss than joy. These objects can quietly drain energy, even when tucked away on shelves. By allowing herself space to feel, not judge, Fiona made room for clarity. She noticed something else, too. After each emotional dusting session, her home felt lighter, but so did she. Her laughter came more easily. Her sleep felt deeper. Her energy more steady. This ritual became her reset button. Not for the house, but for her spirit. So ask yourself, gently, what's one object in your space that might be asking to be seen? Not as clutter, but as a memory too heavy to carry anymore. And if you tried emotional dusting in your own home, where would you begin? Tell us below. You might be surprised what comes up when you pick up that third object. Shift 4. The one-task reset. There's something quietly sacred about the way Fiona folds a blanket. It's not rushed. It's not background noise between chores. It's an act of presence, a signal to her body that a new rhythm is beginning. For years, Fiona pushed through her days with a sense of low-grade urgency. Even in retirement, her schedule seemed stitched together by obligations. Doctor appointments, checking in on her sister, watering the garden. And yet, despite the slow pace of senior life, she often felt overwhelmed by everything, until she discovered her one-task reset. It happened one overcast afternoon when she was spiraling in a foggy, restless mood. No crisis, no bad news, just that familiar, unsettling weariness that made her want to crawl back under the covers. She stood up and looked around her living room. Pillows askew, blanket half draped across the floor, tea mug forgotten on the windowsill. And instead of tackling everything, she did one thing. She picked up the throw blanket and folded it, slowly. She straightened the corners, smoothed the fabric, and laid it over the back of the chair with care. She played soft instrumental piano music in the background, almost ritualistic in her movement. The moment wasn't grand, but it was grounded. Her nervous system noticed. That's when it clicked. The task wasn't the goal, the cue was. Seniors don't always need motivation or movement, they need transitions. Signals to the body and mind that say, it's okay to shift now. Just one intentional, embodied task can whisper to your inner world. Let's turn the page. This one-task reset can look different for everyone. For Fiona, it's folding that blanket. For someone else, it might be lining up the remotes on the coffee table, gently wiping down a lamp base, arranging fruit in a bowl on the counter, closing a drawer that's been open for hours, lighting a candle, and then sitting quietly for 60 seconds cc. The key is not speed, not efficiency, it's intention. This isn't about checking boxes. It's about reclaiming rhythm in a world that often feels offbeat. Fiona now builds these resets into her days. One after lunch, one just before sundown. They anchor her, like punctuation marks in an otherwise run-on sentence. And she's found that the more she honors these small acts, the less her day spirals. Her energy evens out. Her mind feels less scattered. And when the unexpected happens, a phone call, a memory, a wave of sadness, she returns to her reset. One motion, one task, one breath. So here's something to reflect on. What's one small task in your day that, if done slowly, with intention, could reset your entire energy? Share yours in the comments. You never know who might read it and say, "That's exactly what I needed." Shift 5. The room within a room technique. Fiona used to think she had to tackle the whole room to feel a sense of peace. That was the mindset she'd grown up with. If you start something, finish it. So she'd set aside an afternoon to clean the kitchen or tidy the bedroom. And halfway through, her knees would ache, her patience would wane, and her energy would vanish like steam from a teacup. She'd end up overwhelmed, surrounded by piles she no longer had the strength or will to finish sorting. One particularly rainy Wednesday, Fiona stood in her bedroom doorway and looked at the mess with a familiar sigh. The room wasn't horrible, but it wasn't restful either. The bed was made, but the dresser had become a landing pad for mismatched earrings, yesterday's mail, and a vase with water long gone murky. She almost turned away, but then she did something different. She didn't clean the whole room. She didn't even clean the dresser. She focused on just the left side of it. A tiny scene, 3 objects. She wiped the surface, returned the earrings to their box, recycled the mail, and refilled the vase with fresh water. 10 minutes. That's all. And when she stepped back, something surprising happened. Her shoulders relaxed. Her breathing slowed. The room wasn't done, but a corner of it whispered calm. That's how Fiona discovered what she now calls the room within a room technique. It's the art of identifying micro scenes, small, defined slices of a larger space, and treating them with care and intention. Not because you're too tired to do the rest, but because those tiny clearings create emotional breathing space. Her favorite rooms within rooms include the space between the toaster and the knife block, once crowded with jars, now left open on purpose. The square of floor beneath the coat rack, cleared of shoes that never quite made it to the closet. The far corner of her bathroom vanity, now reserved for a single hand cream and a flower in a jar. Each of these is an energy pocket, a place where visual quiet leads to inner calm. Fiona treats them like sacred corners, not because they're fancy or formal, but because they remind her she has power over her space. Even when her body feels stiff or her mood is low, these tiny oases of order offer her a sense of lightness. What's important is this: the rest of the room can stay imperfect. She doesn't chase perfection anymore. She chases relief. She chases rest. She creates little clearings in the visual noise, and those little clearings ripple out more than we realize. This approach is especially powerful for seniors. We often feel like we have to do it all or not bother at all. But in truth, one clean square foot can soothe a restless mind far more than a half-finished overhaul. So today, look around your home. Find one small scene that speaks to you. A corner of your desk, a chairside table, the top of the microwave. Give it 5 minutes of your care, then walk away. It's not about tidying a house. It's about clearing a path back to yourself. What's one room within a room you could reclaim today? Share it in the comments. You might give someone else the inspiration they've been waiting for. Fiona never set out to transform her home or her life. She wasn't following a challenge, downloading a checklist, or preparing for guests. There were no big speeches or before and after photos. What she did was far more quiet and far more powerful. She moved 3 teacups from a shelf that had been collecting dust since 2006. She folded one scarf that had slipped behind a chair and laid it gently in a drawer. She opened a cabinet, pulled out a chipped plate she no longer used, and let it go. These weren't chores. They were choices. And slowly, almost imperceptibly at first, her energy began to shift. The heaviness that clung to her mid-mornings started lifting. Her afternoon yawns became less frequent. She found herself humming again while washing her hands. Her steps, once slow with hesitation, now carried a softness that hinted at peace. Fiona didn't move mountains. She just stopped letting them block her view. What changed wasn't her house, it was how she inhabited it. She no longer looked at her rooms as battlegrounds of disorder. She saw them as extensions of her spirit. And instead of demanding them to be perfect, she offered them something kinder, gentle attention. Because here's the real truth, one that many seniors quietly feel but rarely say aloud. We don't want to be overwhelmed anymore. We don't want to manage chaos. We want to feel safe in our own space, steady in our own skin. And that safety starts with the tiniest shifts. Not a massive clean-out, not a renovation, but an empty corner, a soft-lit surface, a drawer that opens without protest. Moments that speak in whispers. You're in control. You're home. You're okay. Fiona's home still isn't flawless. There are drawers with old cards, boxes of memories she's not ready to sort. And that's perfectly fine, because the goal isn't to erase the past. It's to create space for the present to feel gentle, supportive, and alive. So if you've been feeling tired lately, not just physically, but emotionally, ask yourself, could one simple shift lighten my load today? Maybe it's one shelf, one drawer, one forgotten object that no longer serves who you are now. You don't need to overhaul everything. You just need one moment of ease and the courage to claim it. Tidy isn't about neatness. It's about reclaiming your calm, one peaceful corner at a time. If something inside you softened while watching this, if you saw a little bit of yourself in Fiona's journey, let that feeling move you. Like this video, share it with someone who needs a gentle reset. And subscribe if you're ready to feel lighter, not someday, but starting today.